and how India's role in science, technology and maths throughout the ages has shaped the world we live in. We look at a new exhibition. This is Global. Welcome back. Now, from the design of surgical instruments dating back to 500 BC to the earliest manuscript containing the numeral 0 to the camera sent to Mars, India's innovation in science, technology and mathematics has shaped the world in which we live, past and present. What's also true is that that is perhaps not a commonly known story, but an exhibition has just opened at London Science Museum which is trying to change that, and I'm delighted to say the curator of the Illuminating India exhibition, Matthew Kimberley, is here in the studio with me, and thank you so much for your time. Why did you decide, tell me more, why did you decide to have this exhibition?
So 2017 marks the 70th anniversary of independence for India and then partition in Pakistan. So the British Council and the Indian Ministry of Culture decided to make this a year in which we celebrate the ties between the two countries. This provided a really exciting opportunity for the Science Museum to actually look at India's role in science and technology in a way that's so often overlooked. So often overlooked, you're absolutely right. I mean, a vast amount is on display. You must have had great fun actually pulling it all together. I wanted to look at some of them in particular. The Bakshali manuscript. Just explain a little more about why that is so significant. Yes, so this was found in the 1880s, very near a village called Bakshali in modern-day Pakistan. It came into the Bodleian libraries in Oxford's collections in the early 1900s and was immediately recognised as of some significance. It's almost like a trader's manual. It's full of all sorts of calculations you might need to perform, like sales tax or figuring out a journey time. It's a very practical document. There's been a lot of scholarly analysis over the decades that put it between perhaps the 8th and 12th century AD. However, this year, as part of the reason that this was featuring in the exhibition, as part of our discussions with Oxford, it was decided to radiocarbon date it. The result has been phenomenal. It's put it back another 500 years, so
wow.
3rd century.
And it has the first known reference to the digit 0. I mentioned it in the introduction. Why is that so important?
Well, it's what that means for the history of mathematics itself. So it's not only the beginning of the numeral 0, the shape we're familiar with comes from India, as do all of our counting numbers, but it's also how 0 is used. So we start to see it as a placeholder, how you tell the difference between 101 and 110, say. That 0 is an essential role in that. Our decimal counting system, that comes from India. And the idea of 0 as a number, so we start seeing it being used in a wholly new way that underpins science and technology today.
Isn't that extraordinary, just from that one digit? Now, you have a whole section that you've designated to the man who's described as the father of modern Indian scientists, Jagdish Bose. So tell me more about that.
So he's an incredible character, a true polymath. Succeeded at everything he turned his hand to. He's working from the late 1800s up into the 1930s. So
this is some of his machinery. Tell me what is that we're seeing on the screen?
Two of the objects we're really excited to include in the exhibition are his crescograph and phytograph. Now, what he was interested in the early 20th century was how plants move and grow, something which at that time there was no way to observe. It's too slow a process. So the crescograph, for instance, compounded bit by bit those moments of growth with just a fine thread that connected the tip of the leaf to the instrument, and as a result amplified it up to 10,000 times, so you could actually measure that growth as it was happening.
I'll come to some of the modern in just a moment, but two of the things I really liked in terms of just the historic, the Mughal coins was one, but that document that described the first surgical instruments. Now that is what, that's 500 BC, is that right?
Yeah, so it's called the Sushrita Samhita, the manuscript. It's one of the oldest medical texts that survives in the world today. It sets out all sorts of things, from how to do proper surgical practice and pathology and diagnosis, through to rhinoplasty, how to do nose surgery. But what's really interesting in this is it describes a set of 101 instruments used for doing surgery, and their design is based on the observation of how animals act in nature, how a beak or a claw or teeth are used.
And that's why so many of those surgical instruments are shaped in that way. Now, moving on to the modern, you had that extraordinary event only a couple of years ago where the satellite, the probe, was sent to Mars. Incredibly successful. They succeeded the first go. At such a cost, you know, a cheap cost. I mean, India has gate-crashed the whole space party, haven't they?
Yes, it's, you know, the 4th space agency in the world to undertake a mission to Mars, unlike The US, Russia, Europe, it gets on its very first attempt, which is an extraordinary achievement. So we've got a number of exhibits. The Mars colour camera, developed by space scientist Mumata Dutta, who will actually be joining us at the end of November at the Science Museum in conversation. Infrared spectrometry. So much is going on with the Indian space programme.
Now, so much of this revolving around science, but there's also a photographic exhibition as part of all of this. And again, it's very similar to the science. It's historic, but also right up to date as well, isn't it?
Yes, so I was involved with the 5,000 Years Science and Innovation exhibition, but there's also a second one on India and photography, 1857 to 2017, which is the first exhibition of its kind to actually explore photography in India. And photography arrives in India in the 1850s, not long after its invention. We see some of the really important moments in photojournalism first start to occur then, where the empire was using it to send a certain kind of message about what was happening. However, that's subverted in a lot of ways by Indian photographers. The other major focal point is 1947 and India's independence, and the way that both Indian and international photojournalists represented that.
And we've done so much on that particular aspect here on the programme. Just getting back to the contemporary, because you have a tut-tut there as part of the exhibition, which I absolutely love, and I think we'll put the pictures up in a second or two. I mean, curating an exhibition like this, I mean, what was it like pulling together? What bits caught your imagination? Did you know about all of these things before you pulled them together, or were you finding out as well?
Oh, yes, certainly not. It was a big journey of discovery for me as well, and a really exciting one to be a part of. 5,000 years is a lot of time to cover across all areas of science, but I think that's a testament to just how much India has contributed. So for me, C.V. Raman's Nobel Prize-winning spectrometer was something I was completely unaware of. The first non-white, non-European or American Nobel laureate in the sciences, and the spectrometer he designed, which I believe it's the first time it's ever been publicly displayed, transforms every branch of science.
Well, Matthew, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you and putting up just some of the exhibits you are putting on display. Thank you so much for your time. I'm back with plenty more here on the programme in a minute or two. Hope to see you there.